Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and we are starting the year with the world's first 240Hz OLED gaming monitor. It's got a 27-inch OLED screen with HDMI 2.1, VRR, G-Sync and FreeSync premium support. It also has a DisplayPort 1.4, a fancy little remote control and an awesome rear design incorporating LED strips. It's the 2023 LG UltraGear, and its full name is the 27GR95QE. But could this be the endgame monitor that we've been waiting for? Well, I'll get this unboxed and set up, then we'll go over the awesome features and picture quality and how it performs for both gaming and productivity. So inside we get a box of accessories and a two-part stand. The accessories include an HDMI 2.1 cable, a USB cable, a DisplayPort 1.4, power pack, cable clip for the back of the monitor, a remote control and the manuals. Now, like with most of the LG monitors, the stand comes in two parts. We've got this piece that attaches to the back of the monitor and has a quick release function, and then we've got the feet. And the first thing that I wanted to mention is that this year the stand actually comes with metal feet rather than plastic, so it immediately feels like a premium product. I also like the fact that it has the LG UltraGear logo printed on the feet rather than the arm this time. And then around the back we've got the green NVIDIA logo, which is on the rear instead of the front. Installing the stand is a 2-minute job and no tools are required. Just slot the feet onto the bottom part of the stand and tighten it up by hand. The top part then slides onto the back of the monitor using these clips. And that's it, we're good to go. Now we know that the front of this OLED monitor looks awesome, but we've got to appreciate the design that's gone into the rear. It's very similar to the GQ950 that I had before, but it's even nicer, especially with the ultra thin frame. So we've got this hexagon design on the back panel which protrudes very slightly, and it also includes LED strips on either side. By default these are purple, but you can actually change these in the settings of the monitor itself. This adds a nice ambient glow at night while you're gaming, but they aren't super bright, so if you have other lights on in your room you will struggle to see them. Then there's the UltraGear logo at the top, which has a nice purple foil-like texture to it. And then underneath that we have a quick release button which allows you to remove the stand. And then here are all of the dimensions of this monitor in case you needed them for your own setup. So as for connectivity, well, we get two HDMI 2.1 ports, which are both capable of up to 240Hz. We then have one DisplayPort 1.4. There's also an optical out and 3 USB 3.0 ports. The fact that we have a DisplayPort means if you're using a PC or a MacBook, you can hook it up and use it this way to take full advantage of the resolution and refresh rate. And when it comes to cable management, there's no trunking inside the stand, but there is a little clip on the back which allows you to keep your cables out of sight. From a design point of view, this is by far the nicest looking gaming monitor that I've ever used. The bezels around the sides are ultra thin, which gives us a nice borderless look, but the fact that it's an OLED means it's really thin. The sides look as slim as the recent OLED TVs that we've seen from LG. Pair that with the metal feet and this purple line across the bottom and it looks like a really nice clean monitor to have on your desk. But one thing to note about this purple line is although it looks nice, it will add a kind of reflection or hologram to your desk depending on the lights in your room. And we finally have a stand that gives us every movement that we need. So it not only moves up and down, but it also pivots, tilts and swivels left to right. This means we can adjust the monitor without having to physically move the feet, something that we've seen on the previous models. Right, so let's talk about their picture quality. So I've been using this monitor for the last 2 weeks and every single time that I turn it on, it has blown me away with just how good it looks. It's an OLED screen, which means that with help from the self-lighting pixels, we're getting those perfect inky blacks, a high contrast ratio and brilliant viewing angles. The black levels really are incredible, and there's obviously no light bleed or blooming in those dark scenes. Whether it's white text on a dark background or moving images across a dark scene, it's nice to see those perfect highlights and shadows. But it's also the colours, so this has a P3 98.5% wide colour gamut, which gives us some incredible colours that pop. And unlike with an OLED TV where you need to tweak the picture settings to get that ideal image, these are perfect out of the box. I've not really felt that they needed any calibration at all. So I've hooked up my PlayStation 5 and I've tested out loads of different games and they consistently impress me. But one thing that's really surprised me is that this is a 1440p monitor rather than 4K. When I first heard this, I was a little disappointed as I've exclusively used 4K monitors for gaming, but the clarity and quality of this screen is as good as 4K, especially at this size. Brightness maxes out at 200 nits in SDR, which is relatively low for a monitor, but don't forget that OLEDs don't need to or tend to get super bright when compared to an LCD. Although this seems low, in HDR the peak brightness is 1000 nits, and I have been using this in a well-lit room and have no concerns over the brightness. Now you've probably noticed this already, but it's got an anti-glare screen rather than glossy. I know this is something that's often talked about with OLED monitors, but I think this is absolutely fine. It does a great job of reducing the reflections in your room, whether it's from lights or windows, so placing this in almost any part of your room won't be a problem. Clarity and contrast will naturally take a slight hit compared to a glossy screen, but I don't feel this takes anything away from the quality. And as for the viewing angles, well, this is as good as any OLED panel that I've used before. I mean, sitting at a desk, you're not really going to be watching it from the side, but it looks great in photos and videos from any angle. And when it comes to the performance on this, whether you're wanting to use it with a PC, PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, it will be one of, if not the best monitor of 2023, provided of course you want a 27-inch screen. And it's actually the world's first OLED panel to come equipped with a 240Hz refresh rate. And although I've not been able to test this myself as I don't yet have a gaming PC, I can tell you that at 120Hz it is crazy smooth. There's no motion judder at all. This means playing either of the new consoles from PlayStation or Xbox will look and play insanely well. Then when you combine the HDMI 2.1, NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync premium support, as well as a 0.03 millisecond grey to grey refresh rate, this monitor really is rapid. Now, I mainly use this desk setup for FPS games, so games like Modern Warfare and Warzone, and after playing a few games over the last couple of weeks, it's easy for me to say that I will be keeping this monitor over my previous one. It also supports HDR10, so any games or content that you display that supports that will look a lot better than SDR, including of course the brightness. Now, I've mentioned that this is a 27-inch screen, which coming from a 32-inch I was a little bit concerned it might feel too small, but it does seem the best size for FPS gaming. In fact, I feel a lot more focused at this size, and I know a lot of you have said 27 inches is probably the better size overall. And then we have the awesome gaming menu and settings that are built into the monitor. So I will show the full UI and menus in a minute, but here are the settings that we get for gaming. So if we press one of the buttons on the remote control, we get this overlay on screen, and this shows us the current frame rate as well as if VRR is running. You can also swap between the different picture profiles and modes as well. Then we have the option to show the FPS counter on screen at all times, and this allows you to keep an eye on it while you play. And you can even add a crosshair in the middle of the screen, and this is a great idea if you do a lot of hip fire while you're running around. But it's not just gaming, this monitor can double up as a productivity monitor. You can either use the HDMI 2.1 port or the DisplayPort. Now I'm using an M1 Max MacBook Pro, which is capable of up to 120Hz. Unfortunately, this only works over USB-C and not HDMI. But if you buy one of these USB-C to DisplayPort cables, you will unlock the full capability. And when you combine the OLED panel with this awesome refresh rate, this does make a great productivity monitor. Clarity of text is always an important factor, but this has a PPI of 110.8. So although it's not as good as a dedicated ultra-fine monitor, it's still usable. And when looking really closely, I did notice slight fringing around some text. But when sitting back in my chair, this was not noticeable at all. Honestly, I would happily use this as a work monitor when I wasn't gaming. Now let's take a look at the settings and the menus. Now a huge upgrade that we've seen this year is instead of using the fiddly little joystick underneath the monitor, we actually get a remote control to access the settings instead. So on here we have all of the buttons that we could need to switch it on and control the monitor. Things like the volume, brightness, settings and mute. Then we have options like changing the game mode and turning VRR on or off. And if plugged into a PC, you can change the contrast, sharpness and other picture settings, viewing the input list, changing the aspect ratio, enabling the auto switch for inputs, and you can even change the colours of the LEDs on the rear. So by default it's purple, which is probably my favourite colour, but you can swap or add different colours, so you could go for red, green or even white. But there are loads of other settings on here that you can view and change with the remote, and a big one is the OLED care. So you can have the screen move very slightly to prevent the image from sticking to one spot. There's also the screensaver option, and if you want to, you can run the image or pixel cleaning option, where it will take approximately 10 minutes to run through the process of cleaning the screen. I know a lot of you will have concerns over using an OLED for gaming, but with these options and tools built in, it should be that little bit safer. Oh, and there aren't any speakers built into this monitor, but there is a 4-pole headphone out under the screen. It supports DTS Headphone X, so if you plug a headset in, you will be able to hear your audio this way. Overall, I think this 2023 LG UltraGear monitor is brilliant. It's the first OLED monitor that we've seen with 240Hz and it comes in at a decent size. 27 inches could be the perfect size for most. And it not only looks nice with the incredible black levels and contrast, but the monitor itself looks awesome. It's a nice screen to have sitting on your desk. And other than the low brightness level and the lack of 4K, which on a screen this size you don't actually need, this for me is the ideal monitor. And if you wanted to go bigger than 27 inches, they also do a 45-inch curved display, as well as of course the 42-inch OLED TVs, but that doesn't do 240Hz. But what do you think to this? Does this monitor tick all of the boxes, and if not, what else would you like to see? Well, if you drop a 2023 OLED in the comments, I will give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out my best TVs from 2022, as it covers TVs from LG, Sony and Samsung. Well, thanks for watching, please like, sub and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.